Hello. Okay, today I want to talk with you about building a reverse timeline. This is an important part of planning so that you can kind of get a grip on what needs to happen so you can get this to happen, so you can get this to happen, so you can have a successful production. So, this is just a brief look at how this is done. I want to use the example of the election coverage that'll be coming up in the fall. We did this 4 years ago, in fact, for the 2016 election. So, this is kind of the way we did it, but you can apply this technique to any time you're looking at doing a production. So, it starts off with determining your what we can call your drop dead date of performance, whatever it might be. We'll put event right here. And what you have to do then is figure out if you're going to have the successful event here, you need to figure out what it's going to take to get that. Now, let's say I'm going to change. Let's not do the election. Let's say we're going to do a play production. Well, we have the night of the play that's going to be produced. It could be a football game, it could be a variety of things. What do we have to have in place before that can happen? Well, we need to do the install of the equipment. So if this is at 7 p.m., let's say, by 6 p.m., we want to have everything done. Makes sense to you? 6 p.m., an hour ahead of time. I want everything set up. Before that, we need to do a load in. So if we think it's going to take maybe 4 hours to do a load in, this is what we usually do with a football game. We have a 7:30 kickoff, 7 o'clock. We're supposed to be up with game. 6 o'clock, we want to have everything done so that we can actually enjoy ourselves and we're not trying to put out fires. And then so we need lunch or supper for the crew. So we back up to 5. And how long is it going to take to install? Let's say 4 hours. So we have a crew call at 1 o'clock. So we back up 5 p.m. For supper, setup, 1 p.m. crew call. Now, if we're going to have a crew call at 1 p.m., what has to be in place? We need to have the truck set up. Truck set with park and power will then be at 12 p.m. Park and power. That says P and P. And then, so what needs to be ready for that to happen? Well, that needs to be booked. Now, usually we have those ideas booked out way in advance. So I'm going to go ahead and let's give this a 2 week booking, pre-booking with the equipment. So it would be verify. Hopefully, we've had this uh, set up way in advance, and so that would be way over here. But verify truck. Now, if we're going to have park and power, and this is on a Friday, what needs to happen for everybody else? Well, our talent has another timeline. They're going to be doing on Wednesday, they're going to be having a meeting with their coaches. So, what do they need to know before that Wednesdays? Okay, meet with coaches. Well, before that, they need to have the they need to have all the stats and all the information on the players. So my job as a producer was to have that ready on Monday. So data, and that way, if I get this done by Monday, they can be ready to meet with their coaches, and then they're ready to walk in on Saturday. I mean on Friday. Now, this is not just on one level. So I have my data here. So what do? I gather it together, and I have another timeline for the graphics. Graphics, I get my data here, and then I send data to, and our Alex was our graphics guy. So send the data to Alex to make sure he has it on Wednesday, so that on Friday when he has everything when he arrives to the truck, he'll be ready to take what he's already built if he has his own graphic system at home, which a lot of freelancers may do if they have a specialized work. So he gets his data here so that on Friday, he's doing the stuff that needs to be done that can only be done at the truck there because he's preset things here. What about the camera operators? Well, For us to know the truck system here, there might have been a need to do a site survey. Let me see, if this truck was 2 weeks out, so this site survey may need to be 4 weeks out. So if this is, let's say, this is October 1st, now we're 2 weeks, this will be mid-September. Site survey may need to be 2 weeks out, a full month out, depending on what the needs might be. You would have to determine how much information you would have to have. So this is how we might do, let's say, for a football game. For a theater production, I need to know setup. This is pretty standard. What do I need to know before this, we're ready to shoot a play? Well, I need to have seen the play. I need to do a watch through the dress rehearsal. So that may come in right here. If I need to see the dress rehearsal, I need before that, I need to have the script so I can start working through it. In fact, I might even be called into some of the early production meetings. But you see, what happens is you look at, when you're planning a timeline, you look at your drop dead time, when it has to be ready to go. Give yourself some padding. Make sure you have your install. To be ready for the install or the setup, what has to be done? And then you build the time in for that. You build in the time for what it takes to get to here. And what does it take to get to here? You figure out what you have to do here. So let me go back to that election coverage and show you how we built it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this and get rid of this. This would be in the studio itself. So in order to get ready for that, again, election coverage, 7 p.m. it starts. So at 6 p.m., we want to have studio ready. Give us some lunch, supper, 5 p.m., and everything ready to go. So that means at 5 p.m., studio complete. Okay, that sounds well and good. What are you going to have as part of your election coverage? Well, you might want to have some stories that are rolling in. So this is a Tuesday. Let's say this is Tuesday the week prior. I don't have the specific date. So what needs to be done by here? We need to have stories loaded and verified. What kind of stories? Well, these might be interviews with maybe professors or with students. Who do you support? Who do you like? What are you looking for in this election? Whatever it might be. Whatever stories that you need, that you think would be important to help tell the story of the election night. Well, before you can have stories loaded, they need to be finished. So if this is a Tuesday, all stories finished by Friday. So they can be verified and there's time to have them loaded in. So they're ready to go the Tuesday before. And this will allow your talent to kind of plan how they're going to use the story roll-ins, how they might use them for filler, whatever it might be. Before the stories can be finished, they have to be produced. So we have to give them a week for that, which means they have to be assigned before that. So you have to determine your story ideas. And so if this is a week before, so let's take a date, second Tuesday for the election. So let's say the 13th. That means stories finished are loaded by the 6th. Okay, 13th. Let me go and do this right here. And then by the 6th. So the stories finished need to be the Friday before. So that'll be about the Tuesday, 5th, about the 3rd. Get a week out. Now we're looking at October, let's say 27th on the date. Get them assigned on 10/26. And you see now how we've back time they have to be assigned before they can be produced. They have to be produced before they can get finished. They have to be finished before they can be loaded in and then be reviewed by the talent so they'll be ready to go in the studio. Simple enough. With regard to for technical, we may be looking at, okay, we'll have the studio reserved, so we'll put that in way back here, studio reserved. And since I'm the boss, we'll go ahead and I'll verify that. So then we need to come up with this is our production, our idea, production layout plan. We need to, okay, at least 2 weeks out, we need to determine crew. Now let me go in reverse timeline. For the crew to be determined, for us to get things set up here, we need to have a pre-pro meeting so people know what they're going to be, their assignments will be. So if we're going to have a pre-pro meeting there a week out so that we're ready to go, what do we need to have ready before we have the pre-pro meeting? Well, we need to know who the crew is going to be and we need to also have a layout to present to them. So you see, the whole idea of reverse timeline is that you figure out, once again, what your time that it has to go is. What do you have to get here? What's the next immediate thing? What do you need to have ready so you can get to here? What do you need to have back here so you can be ready for this? And so on and so forth, working backwards. Sometimes the timeline is highly structured because it's going to be over a long period of time. Sometimes if you have a regular formula for a production, let's say for the Vision 48 newscast or for a weekly sports broadcast or for any type of regular broadcast, you have, this day this is due, this day this is due, this day this is due, and you have your general scheme. Other times when it's more of a special event, you may need to sit down and draw out timelines so that you have a coherent plan on getting to the desired final product. Remember, pre-production is 95% of the work. And if you pre-produce well, you can have fun during the production.